In the past, I've made a few videos on fan-made stories that I've made based on certain events in the FNaF series. I've made a theoretical one just for fun, and I've made 2 consecutive story videos on canonical events, those being the death of Charlotte and the death of the bite victim. But now, I decided I should do another one on the death of Elizabeth. I'd also like to do one on the missing children incident and later Affin's Springlock incident, but keep in mind that not everything here is actually canon. It's mostly just like a fanfiction based on a canonical event. There's nothing suggesting that this is exactly how it went, but there's also nothing suggesting that it wasn't. This is purely for entertainment purposes, so without further ado, I hope you all enjoy, and let's get started. The sound of traffic on the street was deafening. Elizabeth's small ears could barely take all the noise. It seemed she wasn't the only one excited about the opening of Circus Baby's Pizza World. The only thing separating her from everyone else crowding the streets on their way to the restaurant was the fact that her father was the owner. Elizabeth was young, only 10 years old, but she was old enough to know that many people weren't big fans of her father. Years ago, when she was only 2 years old, kids were killed at her father's old restaurant, and people blamed him for it, but he was let go. Elizabeth didn't honestly know for sure whether or not he really did kill those children, but she didn't care. She just loved her father and wanted desperately to make him proud. Elizabeth wasn't the only person to want to make her father proud, though. Her brother Michael had done a bad thing many years ago, just before Elizabeth was born, and he was trying to make up for it ever since. He often took care of Elizabeth whenever her father was at work, but now her father had made this restaurant. Elizabeth was sure that the main Circus Baby animatronic was made for her. She was so excited to go play with her, but apparently she wouldn't be doing that. "I don't want you going near Baby." Her father had said it in his deep British accent that he'd passed along to her, but he said it very sternly. He seemed intent on the fact that she would go nowhere near the thing that she wanted to go near the most. "But Daddy, why not?" "The answer is no, Elizabeth. End of discussion," he told her. Elizabeth wanted to cry, but she didn't want to seem weak in front of her dad. "Fine, Daddy, I'll stay away," she said in a small, weak voice. Elizabeth knew that once her dad made a decision, there was no changing his mind. She really didn't know why he wanted her to stay away, but she didn't want to make him mad. As Elizabeth exited the car when they finally made it to the restaurant, it was packed. What seemed like tens of families were crowding around the entrance waiting for it to open. Her father grabbed her hand and led her pushing through families to make their way to the entrance. Just like that, the restaurant was open and the families flooded in. Elizabeth went through the doors with her father, and it was just as amazing as she'd expected. The smell of warm pizza poured into her nostrils. The sound of bodies jumping into the ball pit sounded, and the stages with Funtime Freddy and Funtime Foxy expelled delightful music. It was magical. Just 2 things were missing. Where were Ballora and Circus Baby? Elizabeth walked around, and her father grabbed her arm, making sure she didn't wander. He wanted to make sure that she didn't sneak off to see Circus Baby. Wait. I could sneak away, she thought. She just needed her father to get distracted by something. The only problem was, she didn't know where in the building Circus Baby, or Ballora for that matter, would be. She looked around the large party room in search of a sign, but she saw nothing. However, she did see a hallway that seemed to lead somewhere, possibly a second party room where the other animatronics would be. "Remember what I said," her dad said. She would remember what he said, but she wouldn't exactly acknowledge it. "I will, Daddy." Elizabeth's dad walked around with her, talking to some people around about the attraction, and Elizabeth took this opportunity to look at the animatronics. She walked up to the stage with Funtime Freddy. He was a big white and pink bear that was a bit shorter than her father, but standing on the stage above her, and with her being as small as she was, Freddy was almost intimidating. But he was funny and friendly looking, which distracted her from his size. His stomach was really large, so large it was almost as if a person could fit inside, and there was a speaker on his chest that let out his loud but also raspy voice. He had many splits throughout his body, most prominently straight down his face below his black and purple top hat. The blue rabbit puppet on his hand was pretty charming as well. Suddenly, she heard a loud booming voice come from the other stage, the voice of what sounded almost like a circus ringmaster. The voice was very deep, but it made for a great singing voice which also came from the speaker on his chest. His large snout seemed almost dangerous, but he was smaller and less intimidating than Freddy was. "Elizabeth?" she'd heard her father say. She turned her attention to him quickly. "Yeah?" she said. "You will stay away from them, but I will allow you to go see Ballora and Baby if you promise to stay by my side the whole time," he told Elizabeth. She put on a cute pouty face and nodded silently. Okay, let's go. Elizabeth was silently cheering in her head, happy that her father would let her go see the circus baby animatronic, but she was still sad. She wanted to play with her. What a wonderful day. She was in a small room with balloons and a few tables, but no one was sitting at the tables. Children were running in and out of the room. A few of the children seemed afraid of her, but others enjoyed her songs. She could always hear music coming from down a hall. She assumed it was her friends. It was such a wonderful day. Circus Baby was finally on stage for the first time. She was covered in glitter and smelled like birthday cake. She wasn't sure why, but she would always count the children that were in the room with her. The children were usually playing in groups of 2 or 3 children. Baby noticed a little girl with her father staring at her in awe. It made Baby feel special that someone had liked her so much. But quickly the father nudged the girl to leave the room. Baby was sad. She was hoping she could play with the girl. More children kept running in and out of the room. Circus Baby was stunning. Elizabeth was overjoyed to have seen her. It felt almost like Baby was looking at her deep into her soul, as if she was admiring Elizabeth back. It made her feel warm inside, but that disappeared when her father pulled her out of the room. Circus Baby looked sad too. Elizabeth had enough. Why was her father so intent on keeping Elizabeth away from the animatronics? They were majestic, and they were harmless. When they got out of the room, Elizabeth confronted her father about it. "Daddy, why won't you let me play with her?" she asked her father. He looked at her with a look that told her that he couldn't think of a reason. She thought it was stupid that he was keeping her from playing with Circus Baby. "Daddy, you let the other children go see her? Why won't you let me go?" "No, Elizabeth, I don't have to give you a reason. I am your father. You will stay away from Baby, and you will stay away from the others, especially when you're alone." Elizabeth could tell that he was passionate about this, but she just didn't understand why. Even if it was only once, she wanted to just play with Circus Baby. "Daddy, just once let me go play with her. She's so pretty and shiny. Didn't you make her just for me?" She thought he did. She thought he made Baby just for her. She thought that he cared enough about her that he would let her play with the animatronic at least once. Her shiny shell, her bright red outfit, her orange pigtails, her pretty face, her bright blue eyes, everything about her was beautiful. She just wanted to play with her. Just once. She was getting angry. "I said no, Elizabeth," her father said. She was so angry. "Daddy, she can make balloons! Have you seen her make balloons? Oh, Daddy, let me go to her." But she knew he wouldn't. It was no use. She really had to sneak away. Luckily, an opportunity quickly presented itself. "Excuse me, are you the owner?" someone asked her father. "Why, yes, I am. Are you enjoying your time here?" This was her chance. Daddy isn't watching, she thought. Elizabeth slipped away, into Circus Baby's party room. The last 2 children in the room ran out and down the hall towards the main entrance, but just then the girl Baby had seen earlier entered the room. She put her finger to her lips and hushed her. Baby cocked her head. "Don't tell Daddy that I'm here. I wanted to watch your show too," the girl told her. This made Baby happy, but she felt strange. It felt like something was happening to her. It seemed the only thought in her mind was that this girl was the only one in the room. "I don't know why he wouldn't let me come see you. You're wonderful." "Where did the other children go?" the little girl asked as she turned around, looking towards the doorway. Suddenly, Baby's stomach hatch opened up, and ice cream was inside her chest. As the girl turned back around, she was so excited to see the ice cream. She reached in to grab it, when suddenly, something shot out from Baby's chest. It was like a claw that wrapped around the little girl, prompting her to scream before being pulled all the way into Baby's chest as the screams suddenly stopped. Baby couldn't stop herself. She didn't know what just happened. Then other children rushed in again, but they couldn't hear the scream over the sounds of their own excitement. What she could hear, though, was the sound of a tall British man, who she remembered to be her creator, rushing into the room and yelling for a girl named Elizabeth. He looked around the room before his gaze landed directly on Baby. He looked her in her eyes and gasped. Baby looked in her hand at her shiny microphone, seeing her reflection. Somehow, her eyes had changed colors. They were now green. Baby's creator looked in her eyes with an angry expression on his face. The words were distorted as Baby's hearing was strangely warped. What had caused that? Through the warping, though, she could make out the words he said to her as, "You are wrong." Baby was crushed. She couldn't believe he just said that to her. How could Daddy say that to me?